Final Fantasy XIV changed my perspective. Me too, SonnyD, but let's see why you have the need to say that.
Hey, I'm Sonny, and I used to be incredibly toxic online. Not just having a bad game and telling someone to uninstall, I mean the kind of shit I can't say on YouTube. The kind of shit that would really hurt people I know and love. I was edgy, angry, and I spent too much time on 4chan. So basically, everyone on 4chan. Over the course of my
If you remove the 4chan comment, this is King Shiny before I started playing Final Fantasy XIV.
This was pointed out to me by people, and I slowly started to realize the effects of my actions. That what I thought was a momentary thing could affect the recipient for a long time after. I'm incredibly ashamed of who I was, but I'm also very proud of how far my character has changed, and I feel as if I've only become as such because of research and opinion seeking I did for my actions in the past. No excuses, I was a serious cunt. But the relevance of this is that after a period of time when playing games, I basically stopped saying anything. I would never communicate in team-based games. If someone said something negative, I would block them. If someone was being positive, they would get no response. Life moved on, and whilst I came out of my online shell slightly, I wasn't the biggest communicator outside of when I was in voice chat with friends gaming. Fast forward to the first lockdown during July of 2020. A friend pointed out that the Final Fantasy XIV free trial had just been upgraded and included the first expansion for free. I'd been thinking about trying it for a good while, and that combined with having a friend to play with felt like the best way to get into the game. So one day I installed, unsure as to what weeb shit I'd find, and I've never looked back. I don't want to go too much into gameplay here. There are many videos going over the pros and cons of Final Fantasy XIV as a game. What got me into—
We have one of those. I actually have one of those, making a review. I think I made a review when I finished Stormblood, or when I finished... when did I make my honest review, to be honest? It's been a while, it's outdated. I need to make another one including Endwalker, but I will do that after I finish all the Brooklost quest lines. I have finished the MSQ of 6.0, but I want to do all the Brooklost quest lines in order to get the full picture of it, you know? Not just how I affect the world, but what happens in the world, well, you know, from a more down-to-earth perspective. Do you know Lahi? Everybody know Lahi.
Interested and hooked was the community. You see, there's one annoying restriction for the free trial. You can't make a party. We would have to ask in a public area if someone could make one, invite us, and then leave. Which felt stupid, and I didn't really want to annoy people by asking them stuff. But we really wanted to do the dungeon together. So I sucked it up and asked. And I was greeted by a flood of helpful and friendly people. All of this because of the little green plant that was above my head. That plant meant I was a sprout, aka a new player. And Final Fantasy players love sprouts.
And this is the best part. This is the best part that the Final Fantasy XIV player base does. Because you guys realize how it goes. You know how it goes. If you don't tend to the sprout, it will never grow up to become a bush. It will never grow up to become a tree. You will never become a veteran unless cultivated by the already existing veterans. The Final Fantasy XIV community does the exact opposite of what World of Warcraft community will do. Where in WoW, if you are new, you're dog shit and nobody's gonna teach you, so they will kick you. And what will this make you? Either very toxic and defensive, or you're gonna stop the game. In Final Fantasy XIV, which it does have its pros, it does have its cons as well, right? But people try to make it as welcoming of an experience as possible. Honestly, I can count every single time someone was toxic at me in FF14. Every single time. Do you know how I've been playing this game for 3 years plus, but I can count how many times people have been toxic towards me. Fingers of one hand, I think. Like, let me think. Like, there was like this one dungeon where the person was like being a piece of shit to the healer. Then it was like the other one that was we know he was a WoW FUG, alright? And then like 3 and one time in Void Dark. 4 times. 4 times.
Whispers left and right asking if we got him, if we needed any help going forward, adding us as a friend, and if we had any questions just to find them. I was honestly amazed. I'd heard the community was good, but never this good. Any question you have, no matter how stupid, someone will answer. Requests for getting carried through story content, people will help. Not understanding some of the weird mechanics? You got it, someone will gladly help. Fast forward, it was beating the main story quest.
My experience, and I believe this guy's experience up to this point was, if he was a WoW gamer, it would have been, Google it. Go to Warhead. Why do you ask trade chat? Shut the fuck up. Something like that. I'm not miming. That's all responses that would be given. I myself am responsible for... So like there was a guy, and this has been actually a while ago. I don't remember if it was Legion or Wolves of Draenor. It has been years ago. And he was like, how do I do X? I told him you have to go to Silithus. I took the guy to Silithus for no reason. He was a newbie. I was a piece of shit. He stayed in Silithus. He told me, now I'm in Silithus, now what? I typed lol and I logged off.
For the base game and the Heavensward expansion. What a journey. Every group instance we did was filled with friendly people, greetings, memes and support. Amazing boss battles, phenomenal and beautiful music, and game design that oozed the developer's passion. I was in love with it. The role-playing aspect of the game was hugely surprising to me. Aside from people soliciting extreme raid progression, there were literal in-game bands that travel from server to server, like the Songbirds, because Final Fantasy XIV's Bard class has the ability to play a variety of instruments, so players either set up a mod so they could use their IRL MIDI keyboard to play, or set up a script to do their part. Players crafting gear for new players without asking anything in return. They had me hook, line and sinker, so I got out the bank card and bought the game, because I was on to the Stormblood expansion next. The thing is, during the course of Heavensward and Stormblood, something changed. I was greeting my in-game parties. I was friendly, courteous, and as helpful as I could be. Because everyone had been so nice to me, the sheer kindness had rubbed off on me. Whenever I was having a bad time in real life, I knew that I could log on and be met by friendly faces, words of encouragement, and one of the strongest feelings of community I'd ever felt, even if they were all strangers. And I could also encourage others. Truly, a group of people all so passionate about something they loved.
You know, I remain a toxic piece of shit to this day, but way different than I was. Back then, I would type really negative things. Really negative things, alright? Truly hateful things when I'm molded. Now, when I mold, I keep it to myself, I'm quiet, you know, and I try to cast away to cast these thoughts away. The one time that I will actually become toxic is if someone attacks a healer. So like I had an interaction in the party where, so we wiped, okay? I went wall to wall and we wiped. The healer, he did not really heal that well, right? I'm gonna be honest. But I could also have popped more defensives or like in a better fashion. So we wipe and a comment of the DPSs, one of the DPSs says, talks to the healer, he's like, oh, look at this dogshit healer, pretty much. I don't remember his words exactly, but it was hostile towards the healer. Now, I didn't know the healer. I was like, yo, piece of shit, listen, okay? He did his best, alright? He did his best. I could have done better as well, you know? Like, just fucking chill, you know? And let's have no fucking toxicity in this fucking place, you know? Turns out, they were actually friends on Discord, bantering one another. That's the only case where I would be hostile or toxic towards someone, trying to defend them, right? But yeah, you can see why. You can see why. Nobody here points fingers, man.
And it's great to be part of a big community. The engagement I felt from everyone was out of this world. Yep. Whispers from everyone about how good the next expansion was, and how they wish they could replay it for the first time again, guiding me on towards Shadowbringers.
And that's where it gets good.
Now, I don't want to spoil any of it, but Shadowbringers is my favourite RPG story of all time. The characters, the setting, the world building and story seeds that had been planted from when you first started in A Realm Reborn through every expansion on its way to this point.
For me, it's Stormblood, and I have a whole video about this. So yeah, I'll leave the video, do the talking about why it's Stormblood, but for me it's absolutely Stormblood.
All culminated in a story that had a massive impact on me and the rest of the community. I can't lie, I got pretty upset at points during the story. It's a true heartwarming and wrenching tale. Stories about power, loss, hopelessness, and the nature of even existing, made even better by the phenomenal voice actors.
Yes.
If we close out of my current editing tab and look at my wallpaper, Joe Dempsey's performance as Ardbert is outstanding, and he's well versed in performing, like when he played Gendry Baratheon in Game of Thrones. The other voice actors are totally amazing, but Ardbert's plight hit me personally.
We did everything right. Everything that was asked of us, and still it came to this.
Albert.
You of all people should understand. We will not falter. We brought our world to the brink of destruction, and now we must save it.
Whenever you talk to a Final Fantasy XIV player and ask them what their favourite moment is, almost all of them are going to say something different. A small amount might say raiding moments, but most will say a specific moment from the story. And since it's a couple hundred hours of story to get...
Little son! Yes, that is my favorite moment. That, and when Estinian mistook Alize for Alphinaud. And she was triggered, right? I am not half in, and then she gave him an earful.
To Shadowbringers, there's a lot of moments for players to enjoy. Now, I mentioned music earlier, but I'd like to take a quick moment to talk about how phenomenal the soundtrack is in this game. This man, Masayoshi Soken, is a god amongst humans. The sheer creative energy he brings to every new bit of content is unreal. The musical selection in Final Fantasy XIV covers not just basically every genre, but every mood, atmosphere, and emotion. And he also put in some of his best work when he was in fucking hospital with cancer. His co-workers were asking him to work less and just to recover, but he knew how much everyone loved him, and how much his music had given people, and how much it meant to them that he kept on working. And thankfully, he has recovered, and he's working hard as always, motivated by the fact that millions of people love and engage with his musical creations. I have a hard time recommending this game to people when
I don't, but that's not what I want to talk about here. That moment right there at that FanFest, how Yoshi P ugly cried. Like, he didn't do the PR cry like, oh, it was so emotional. He ugly cried. The entire vibe, like, many people found about what was happening, at least, well, actually almost all of them, that moment on the stage. They didn't know this beforehand. They didn't know the severity of what was happening. The guy literally had cancer, and he was like, you know what, no, I have to produce whatever I produce because my players deserve it. He almost fucking died for us, right?
say base game is okay, Heavensward is great, Stormblood is good, and Shadowbringers is the best thing since sliced bread, but you have to play 200 hours before you get there. Obviously, if it wasn't worth it, me and others wouldn't be raving about it till this day, but I can't force or even suggest someone else put themselves through that much time to get there. Not everyone has as much free time as me, and for full honesty, the kindness in Final Fantasy XIV is amazing, but on occasion, it can become a bit of a hug box. In some cases, criticism isn't allowed. Even with the new player code of conduct, you shouldn't tell someone they're doing a raid mechanic wrong. You should suggest another way to do it, but not force it upon them, which frankly is fucking stupid. Sometimes people are bad and need to be told the proper way to play, but I can also see where the developers are coming from. The game is designed to try and support all.
The game will soon be replaced, like these MMO elements will be replaced. I believe that, actually they said this, they said it themselves, that in the future, Final Fantasy XIV is destined to become a solo-able experience. Like, you will be able to do the initial trials, initial, everything, right, that has to do with the MSQ without anyone else in your party. So, yeah, that's what they're going for. It's an RPG first and an MMO second.
All players from many walks of life. There's hard content for those that want it, but the main story should only be a light challenge at points for the majority. But unlike other companies, Square Enix are actively trying to foster a supportive community for players of every skill level, not just a supportive endgame scene. And for that, I'm grateful, because I am dog shit at this game. I'd slowed down my playing before the latest expansion Endwalker came out. I hadn't really logged on in a couple of months, except to do the patch story content in anticipation of it. Now, so much happened in Endwalker, I can barely even skim it. The value you get out of the expansions in this game is worth multiple AAA purchases. But once again, life lessons, the brutality of man and nature, and one of the most important discussion points, sacrifice. Without spoiling it, for those that have played, we couldn't have known, right, that the walk...
No, we couldn't have known, and you know what? Endwalker for me actually surpassed Stormblood as my favorite expansion of all time, because it is so complete, it was so thorough. Even though I was very critical of the first 40 to 50% of the game, I was not particularly fond of the when we got to Charlian at first and Labyrinthos, and some of the Thavnir was really fun, some was easily forgettable. Garlemald I couldn't give a crap about, right? But then it happened. Then the click happened. We go to the moon, we do the moon. We come back from the moon, we go Thavnir again, we see what's at stake. We go to the past, we do what we do. I don't want to give too many spoilers here. So, like, without saying anything, it was really good. It's one of the reasons I have taken a monthly... it's more than a month. It's longer than a month at the break that I have taken, if you think about it, right? And I'm just playing Final Fantasy XIV right now, doing Blue Cross questlines every now and then, and that's just it. I want to digest this type of content. I want this to be fully absorbed into my brain. It was It was the most beautiful game I played in my life. Like, it made me feel beautiful. I don't know how it's possible. My day can be shit, and I will play FF, and every single fucking time I play FF, when I stop playing FF, I feel better than before I started.
Cutscene would be one of the most gut-wrenching and sympathetic cutscenes we might ever see, or that when it came to the end, during the final boss fight, it wasn't the boss's fight theme that played, it was yours, as you lay the smackdown of an eternity. Even remembering moments from the game gives me goosebumps to this day. A certain song playing, or a voice line, and I'm reliving all the emotions I went through. If a game has that much staying power with me, I think you can guess my opinion on it.
How many of you randomly visit Crystarium and you listen, stand tall? I'm not gonna sing it, right? And immediately you're like, oh fuck. And just you lose your defenses, you're like, oh fucking hell. Or you go to Ultima Thule. And once you go to Ultima Thule, you begin like the story is you know, the music starts like with the story, just like what is this noise, then slowly it starts getting into the song, and then Rahatia does the thing that I'm not gonna spoil because of redacted stuff, okay? And then now you have like whispers and you're like, oh my fucking god. Yeah.
What I can say is that the passion and dedication the director Yoshi P and his team have put into the story and fostering a community have made me a player for life. Before recording footage for this video, I hadn't logged on since a month or two after Endwalker came out. I'm a story player now, and I'm totally happy with that, because I know whenever I come back, be it on a sad day or a happy one, I have a great story, supportive community, and otherworldly passion and kindness to come back to, and I'm incredibly grateful. I can't wait for the next expansion and the stories it'll bring, and the moments the community will share.
You see, like, Final Fantasy XIV, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Every single game, every single good game that I've played has nothing to do with the reward you will get at the end upon completing the game. It has nothing to do with the achievements that you will get. It is simply doing it. In this game, you will feel good by simply playing it. How? I don't know. That's the best part. That's the best part. What you love may not be necessarily what I love, but you will find it. You will find it. You know how simple I am? I got me a house. I haven't gone to my house for a few days, but I know that it is there. I know that I have a house in the game. I love my house. It's simple. I haven't even decorated it. It just has a bed and stuff. But I love having a house. That's how simple I am. Maybe you will prefer something else. Maybe we will prefer savage raiding. Maybe you will prefer your island to do gathering and stuff in your island. Maybe you will prefer something interesting. But I can guarantee you that when you enter this game, if you find what you want, you will want to do it, regardless of the reward.
You wanted to try Final Fantasy XIV. It has the best MMO free trial around, which got me hooked. Even though I play a lot of RuneScape now, I'll still be watching new players' experience videos about coming into the game and trying my hardest not to cry when Flow comes on. Wait, no, Sonny, why do we have to put it as the ending song? No!
Thank God. Thank God he skipped that part that always gets me. Rich's favorite game was Divinity Original Sin 2, and then he played 14. I couldn't even consciously, I'm gonna like this video by the way, sharing it to the chat, but I couldn't even consciously comprehend how much I would like this game when I started playing it. But hey, you know what? Stupid weeb game, right? Stupid weeb game.